Alrighty, friends, it is another month. It is another book club spoiler-filled reading vlog. If you don't know, I do have a book club. It is linked down below, and it is very low commitment. If you don't like the book picked, you don't have to read it. We do polls every month, as well as take suggestions for the next month's pick. So, last month for December, we had like a literary fiction Christmas story. The month before that, we had a fantasy, and everybody was kind of itching for another thriller. And so when this book was suggested, I was over the moon. I had a screenshot a reel listing books that kind of gave cult energy, and this book was one of the ones suggested, and I had found it recently at Half Price Books. Very excited, and then when I saw it suggested for this month's book club, I immediately was like, that's going to be, the poll is always 4 books. It was like, that's immediately going to be one of the 4 to pick from. And it won with over 50% of the vote, and that is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I think she's pretty famous for the In My Dreams I Hold a Knife book, but I'm just going to read you the synopsis since this is, I don't really know what this is about. And this is spoiler filled, so we're gonna get all the details. Ready? While in college in New York, Shay Evans and her best friends met a captivating man who seduced them with a web of lies about the way the world works, bringing them under his thrall. By senior year, Shay and her friend Laurel were the only ones who managed to escape. Now 8 years later, Shay's built a new life in a Tony, Texas suburb. But when she hears the horrifying news of Laurel's death, delivered of all ways by her favorite true crime podcast, Crusader, she begins to suspect that the past she thought she buried is still very much alive, and the predators are more dangerous than ever. Recruiting the help of a podcast host, Shay goes back to the place she vowed to never return to search for answers. As she follows the threads of her friend's life, she is pulled into a dark, seductive world where wealth and privilege shield brutal philosophies that feel all too familiar. When Shay's obsession with uncovering the truth becomes so consuming that she can no longer separate her desire for justice from darker desires newly reawakened, she must confront the depths of her own complicity and conditioning. But in a world built for men to rule it, both inside the cult and outside of it, is justice even possible? If so, how far will Shay go to get it? And it does look like mixed media, like there's some like podcasty parts, which I love personally. And I'm very excited. This is my first Ashley Winstead book. I do think she also writes romance. Correct me if I'm wrong. But let's get into it. And I also love this cover. So pretty. Alright guys, we are about to get started on The Last Housewife. It is currently 7:30. This is 372 pages. I'm going to try to just read it all right now, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think that it'll take me, probably like 5 hours, which would be like midnight 30, and I took a nap today until like 2 o'clock, so I'm awake. So we're going to give it a go. I'm going to read a couple of chapters, and then I'll update you on my thoughts. I feel like in these videos I tend to be kind of all over the place, so I'm going to try to be a bit more concise and check in less. And during my check-ins, have my check-ins be longer, because I am going to be going in with each chapter on Fable for the book club, and so I feel like I can do my check-ins like maybe every 5 chapters and kind of go over what I put in Fable, and I think that might lead for a more clear video. So we're gonna give it a go. Okay guys, we have read about 3 chapters, and I'm gonna just give you the little 411 as to what this book is about. So we have our main character, and her name is Shay, and essentially Shay is like a writer, and she recently quit her job because she wants to work on a novel, only she doesn't know how for the novel to end. She's married to a man named Cal, and he's like rich. I actually don't know. She's in New York City right now, but I don't know where she's originally from. She like went to college in New York City. I don't know where she and her husband are living, but she goes, I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically, in the beginning of chapter 1, she is at home because she's currently not working, and the book starts with her talking about that feeling of being watched, the feeling of eyes on you, the feeling of like making your skin crawl that people are staring at you. And that is a feeling I know well, and I'm sure most women do know well. And it's very uncomfortable, and it talks a lot about that feeling, and I really was like, it really like hit. And basically, she loves to listen to this one podcast that one of her, like, not like an ex-friend, but a friend she lost touch with named Jamie, puts out. She listens to it, but they have not talked in years. Shay has changed her last name. She doesn't want anything to do with whatever happened in her past. We don't have any info on what happened. But, as she's listening to the podcast, he says the name of the victim. It's a true crime podcast, and he's like, you know, this people are thinking is that, like, she did this to herself, but, like, I think somebody did it to her. And the person we're talking about today is Laurel, whatever her last name is. And Shay gets chills because Laurel was one of her roommates in college, along with her friend Clementine, who has also died of suspected suicide. They're both now people are now assuming that they both unalived themselves by hanging. And it was exactly 8 years, or around 8 years, since Clementine died in the exact same way. There's cuts all over Laurel's arms apparently, and because of these cuts, the podcaster Jamie doesn't think that she did this to herself. And at the end of the podcast episode, like, he says, like, because he says that he had met Clementine and Laurel before, and in his podcast he's talking about that's why this case is like intriguing to him, is because he had met Laurel through a friend that he has lost touch with. And at the end of the podcast he's like, if you're out there listening, my friend that I've lost touch with, please get in contact with me. My number's still the same. So I'm really intrigued if Shay is gonna get in contact with him. And then we find out that Jamie actually tried to find Shay, but because she changed her last name, he couldn't. I'm very intrigued currently as to find out what exactly happened to Clementine as well, because whenever she was found, they were both found hanged in a place that was important to them. And when Clementine was hanged, she had carved into her arm the words, "I'm sorry." And because I know that this book delves into something cult-like, I'm starting to think that maybe Clementine got them into the cult, and that's what she is sorry for, but no, nothing further there. And Clementine's parents had also reported her missing months before she killed herself, in quotes, and Laurel's family had also not spoken to her in years before her body was found. So, also kind of sketchtastic. Where were they all this time? Why hadn't anybody heard from them? Very intrigued. And then chapter 3, Laurel decides she's gonna go to New York and she wants to figure this out on her own. She doesn't want to, like, give info to Jamie. She wants to uncover what has happened. So she goes down to the police station and says, like, I knew Laurel, like, I want to talk to somebody. And so they bring the chief of police out, which is this guy named Adam Dorsey, and he's a fuckhead scumfuck. I hate him. And he, I guess, handled some case regarding Laurel freshman year, and he's just being like what you would think of like a shitty cop, where like he's like, yeah, I don't remember you, because she went with Laurel when she went to the police station. He's like, I don't remember you, I don't remember her. I get all these girls coming in here crying all the time that like he kissed me when I said no, and he's like mocking people who have been assaulted. So I literally hate him and want him to DIE. Also, I'm hoping we don't have to find, like, I'm going to be really annoyed if we have to wait the whole book to find out what happened when they were in college. And there was one quote that I highlighted, and it said, but the campus, because she then drives to the college, she says, but the campus I remembered was still here, which confirmed what happened had been real. No one could say otherwise. No one could take that away from me. And I just want to know what happened, baby. Also, going into the title of the book, she has mentioned that she is now a housewife, and what would Laurel and Clementine think of her knowing that she was now a housewife? So I wonder if that's gonna like delve something into the title of this. Is her husband a bad guy? I'm confused. Okay, friends, we've made it to chapter 9, so I'm gonna recap chapters 4 through 9 for you. About 30% into the book. Basically in chapter 4, Shay goes back to find her phone at a house party, and she hears a girl crying. She goes down into the basement and she finds Laurel there with no pants on, post assault. And there was a quote because Laurel was explaining to her what happened, and she was trying to basically justify how she reacted to the situation. And there was a quote that said, "She was already anticipating the arguments against her. I wanted to turn around and tell her she didn't have to do that. I understood." And that literally breaks my fucking heart that we live in a world where somebody's like assaulted and then has to like justify the way they reacted to their own trauma. Horrifying. But they went to the police, and that asshat cop of Adam Dorsey was working, and he basically told her it was her fault. And so basically I hope he dies by the end of this book because he's horrible. And Clementine is a straight up badass. I fucking love her. She is so like outspoken, and like she's just great. And then Shay decides to call Jamie, the podcaster. And whenever they meet up, they're talking about like things, and he asks her, "Does this have anything to do with the man, the one from the day in the city? Does this have something to do with him?" What man? I'm terrified. I am also having some sneaking suspicions that Laurel's husband is a bad guy. I don't know, I'm getting bad vibes about him. We also go to Laurel's apartment, and she'd been living there for 8 years, so she moved there directly after college. And partway through living there, instead of her paying her rent with like her personal banking information, this other like company started paying her rent, and her landlord thought it was kind of weird, but was like, whatever, as long as I'm getting paid, I don't really care. But her landlord, when they talked to her, basically said that Laurel had lived there for 8 years, and in the beginning they were like friendly, they would chit chat, and then all of a sudden her behavior became very erratic. She was never around. She would just cry. She would just find her like outside just staring at the ground. Very weird. And they're looking around her room, and they find a picture from college, and it has Clementine, Shay, and Laurel in it, and then folded on the page is over the fourth girl, their fourth roommate. And they flip it open, and her whole face is scribbled out, and that was apparently the fourth roommate, Rachel. And yeah, she's sketch-tastic. But then they find another picture of just the 3 main girls with Shay's face scribbled out. Very concerned as to what that means. Then we moved on to chapter 6, and basically through Laurel's landlord, they found out about, or on the back of the one picture of the 4 girls, it was scribbled on the back of it, Sparrow, or tongue cut Sparrow. And so they asked the landlord about it, and she like wanted to go off the record, stop recording her, that basically it's like this sex club thing, like where like prostitutes work and stuff in this like rich hotel mansion thing. So very weird. Oh wait, no, that was not from her landlord, that was from her ex-boss, Clarissa. It's a lot of names. Then we had a good podcast chapter. Our girl Shay agreed to be on the podcast, which was awesome. And there's another really good quote in this chapter. Basically, she's trying to tell the story of like her and Laurel's friendship, and she starts at the beginning about her being assaulted. And in it, she goes, "Andrew, if you're out there, fuck you with all my heart." Iconic. And then she's talking about being scared all of the time, and how one of the nights they all went to the theater room and were dressing up in like the costumes, and she put on a 3-piece suit, and she felt very powerful because she looked like a guy, and that if she was a guy, she could go out and not feel scared. And Jamie said, "Are you scared all the time?" And Shay said, "I'll say this, when I'm outside, there's always a hum in the back of my mind, a little thread of anticipation. I think most girls are the same." And then we meet Rachel. Basically, to move to like the dorms they wanted to live, they had to be with 4 people and they didn't have a 4th. So Laurel was like, well, one of these girls in my class is kind of shy, she doesn't have any friends, let's ask her. Laurel and Clementine were kind of sketched out by her because she's very antisocial and is giving kind of like psychopath energy, let's be honest. But they're like, whatever, do what we have to do, because they're very protective of Laurel and they just want to make her happy. So they allow Rachel to move in, and she's like, doesn't talk to anybody, doesn't engage in them, and the only time she engages is if somebody is hurting in some way, like physically or emotionally, and she tries to make it worse. Like if somebody is crying about something, she'll like pour salt in the wounds. And then one of the girls like had a cut on her finger, and instead of getting a band-aid, she just wanted to come look at it. She's terrifying me. And then her dad wants to take all of the girls out to lunch, which I'm already getting horrible vibes from this motherfucker. And so then that was the podcast chapter, and then we move back to present time, and the girls or not the girls, Shay and Jamie are gonna go find this tongue-cut sparrow thing, and they do, and it's like this weird membership club in the basement of this mansion, and they have to pay $1,000 each to get in, and they have to take mystery pills. It's part of the rule, and they both think it's like maybe ecstasy, but what the bartender says, don't ask questions, you won't like the answers. I'm scared, simply. And then they're talking to one of the lady sex workers, and they're talking about like trying to see like if she knows who Laurel is, and the girl says, don't tell me it's another missing girl. How many missing girls are there, sir? I'm scared. And then chapter 9 was another podcast chapter because the pills were starting to get Miss Shay to open up about what happened with Rachel's dad, because in the prior time she was talking about it, she's like, I can't talk about this right now. But he was basically like, he wants to take them out twice, which is weird. And I feel like he was saying saying a bunch of stuff that all the girls had already talked about. Well, not Rachel, the other 3 girls. And it was almost like she was observing the girls and like slipping him information. So creepy. And then the second time he takes them to a bar, gets them drunk, finds out more about them. And at the end he can tell Shay is sad, and he like puts her face in his hands and says, does anybody ever tell you you're beautiful? I'm throwing up. And then he says, but you'd be prettier with blonde hair. The whole thing, so creepy. I hate this guy. Y'all, I'm stressed. She went back to the fucking bitten eye sparrow thing, the place, the sex club, and she went in the bathroom, was talking to some girl, and basically they had talked to the college gal who found Laurel's body, and she said that there was like this symbol on her arm, and now Shay is in the bathroom with one of the gals, and she is talking to her, and she sees the like thing, and they have this whole talk about kink and whatever, and she's like, well, if you want the real thing, come to 7 Fox Lane or whatever. And she's like, tell them that you're a gift from the daughter or something. And she's like, this isn't a game. If you go to Fox Lane, you can't change your mind. Do you understand? If there's even a little part of you that can live without it, don't come. And that's when Shay saw the same symbol on this girl's arm that was on Laurel. And I swear to God, if she goes, I'm going to flip out. I'm scared. I'm stressed. Okay, y'all, I read chapter 11. I think I'm going to be done for tonight. I only made it to 34%. I don't want to talk about it. But I just finished chapter 11, and it was fucking wild. Basically, we got the transcript, another transcript chapter of Shay telling Jamie about when they went to Don's house. First off, Rachel's room was like pink with dolls everywhere, which is so weird because she's such like, her room, I guess, at the dorm has nothing in it. And then he demanded that Rachel make the dinner, and he wanted the girls to help. And also she did dye her hair blonde for him. And basically, when he took out the aprons for all the girls to help Rachel cook, Clementine refused, and she's like refusing all this like weird shit from him, and I'm starting to think that Clementine got killed because she wouldn't submit to him, because he keeps talking about like how important submission is. And oh my God, he just pulled Shay aside and was like, I want you, and I know you want me, you're my good girl, aren't you? Ugh. Oh my god, he's so cringe. And then he forced Rachel to stick her hands in a candle until they started blistering. And then Laurel's like, you want me to do it too? So he's definitely manipulating these, like, girls who have, like, trauma, and he's using their trauma against them. And it's horrifying, and I hate this motherfucker. Okay, friends, it is day 2 of reading The Last Housewife. We have about 4 hours left in the book, which I do intend to finish today. But joke's on me, because I literally said that yesterday. I just lost my page clicker. Why am I like this? I don't know why I feel the need to pick it up and then set it down when it's tiny in my mess of blankets and... Oh, here it is. Everything else in life. I do have my heated blanket, not because I am cold, because, I have this one knot in my back that I've named Not Tasha, and she really hurts. So, from work today. So, I'm going to lay here. It is 5:30, and I hope to be done by 10. I feel like with, like, breaking for typing stuff up in Fable. But we are going to get started. We are on chapter 12, 34%, 4 hours left. It's exactly 5:30. Let's see when we finish. I will update in a few chapters. Doodles. Y'all, Girly Pop went to this house that the girl at the Sparrow thing told her to go to. She snuck in and is going down some creepy stairs to a basement, and I'm scared. I was trying to be less chaotic this video, but my life is chaotic and this chapter is chaotic. So she's at this place, and it's where, like, the cult is. She sneaks in, and in the basement it's a bunch of, like, naked women besides wearing their heels, and they are all, like, kneeling around in a circle with a bunch of men in the middle, and I don't know, some crazy shit's going on, and this bitch just got caught. She got caught. I'm scared. I'm very scared. But the woman from Tongue Cut Sparrow is trying to have her back, and I'm so stressed out. I'm stressed out. The girl from the Sparrow helped her escape, and I swear to God she better never go back. Chapter 14 is so beyond fucked. I can't even talk about what's going on in this chapter on YouTube. I know I can't, but so many fucked up things are happening. Blah, blah, blah. And I'll just read you this little passage. This is part of the podcast. Shay is basically talking about when they went over to Don and Rachel's house for, like, a weekend sleepover. And basically, all sorts of things, from physical harm to other things. But Jamie says, and did he treat Laurel like he treated you? Shay. Different because she was softer, but after, he still left her on the floor. But then, I wasn't jealous anymore. I lay down next to her and ran my fingers through her hair until she fell asleep. Jamie, you went back to campus after that weekend though, right? Tell me you found someone. A professor, if not a cop. Tell me you told someone what happened. Shay. Jamie, you don't understand. We never left again. Not for 1.5 years. Jamie, what? Yeah, Jamie, what? Okay, y'all, I'm about 60% into the book. I need to turn on the fan. I'm toasty roasty, but I don't remember really what I last talked about. I think her going to this house, well, she basically allowed herself to be initiated, and she got her arm branded like Laurel did, and we're finding out, like, how they escaped basically was, like, I think I told you that Clementine essentially was like, I want to go, and she ended up being, like, hanged. And I'm pretty sure it's because they found out she was going to, like, confess what was going on. And we're basically learning all about Shay's childhood and how her dad left, and how whenever Clementine died, she and Laurel went to the school and told them about what happened, and then Don and Rachel, like, fled. They snuck back into the house because nothing had happened. Nobody went to jail, whatever. Nobody interviewed them, and they found the house just empty. So, like, they had fled, and then they made promises to, like, get the fuck out of New York, which Shay did, and Laurel never did. And Laurel joined this, like, weird society thing, and now Shay is, like, snuck her way in and is trying to, like, uncover stuff and uncover some stuff about herself. But this book is very dark and very disturbing, and like read it at your own risk, because I don't really have any triggers and I'm very uncomfortable reading this book. It is heartbreaking and horrible, and I can't really, for spoiler vlog, I can't really talk about, I don't feel comfortable like vocalizing some of the things going on in this book. But we're learning now that Shay is wanting to be interviewed by Jamie because she wants to understand herself and why like she's making these choices and doing these things that she's doing. But we also learned that the president of the college is a part of this like horrible cult thing. And now I'm thinking that Clementine, like after she died and they went to the school, that's why nothing ever happened, is because he was a part of it all, which is like, what the fuck? Oh my god, my head is just exploding with all the thoughts. And then Nicole, she's like the person who got Shay into this club. She is talking about how like her goal is to get in with like the main man in charge, and she referred to like the person being, another person like even higher up, being a she. And I think Rachel is running this whole thing. It's Rachel because she's horrifying. And I am just like, oh my god, I'm just so baffled by everything, and I am so uncomfortable, and I am so stressed out. And I'm 60% in, I have like 2 hours left, and let's go. Okay guys, we just found out that the president, the guy who's part of the cult, who is also the like president of the college, started teaching a class again, and 2 of the girls who have gone missing were in his class. So he's using his class to recruit these girls. Getting so mad. We now learn that Shay's mom dated her high school English teacher, and he physically abused her. And part of the things that Shay has been into has been being hurt by men, but like doing it on purpose. And Jamie's talking to her about like some people, there's a theory called repetition compulsion, which is people who have experienced trauma have a strong desire to reenact it over and over to gain mastery. And Shay says, you asked me why I'm putting myself in danger. It's because I owe them. Call it whatever you want, whatever theory, I don't care. This time I am going to save someone. She is feeling so much guilt for... She said, I could have saved Clem and Laurel in college. Instead, I left them to the wolves. And that breaks my heart that she feels like it's her fault. Because it's literally not her fault. That piece of shit police officer just showed up at one of these parties. I'm scared. I hate this camera. Oh my god, guys. So much has happened. She's at this party. You find out that Nicole, the girl who's been helping her within all of this, her like captor dude is the chief of police, Dorsey. And she tells Nicole that she knows like the guy in charge and that she needs to get out. She knows him, ... And she's like, Nicole, you have to leave. We can run together. I have money. I can protect us. And she says to her, listen, I'm more scared of Rachel than I am of Adam, which is Dorsey. She's the one who will kill me if I leave. Rachel? Where is she? The hilltop. With Don? I don't know who that is. The philosopher. No, the philosopher's name is Greek. I knew it was Rachel. Oh my god. Nicole is telling Shay a story about Rachel, and she says they tell all the daughters the story. The Patters, which is like the captors, say she hung a girl and made it look like suicide. She'll do the same to us if we try to run. The thing is, all the daughters who step out of line do go missing. I think she's real, and she hurts everyone who tries to leave. I'm scared. Oh, we just found out why Shay lost valedictorian. Apparently she found out that the English teacher who dated her mom, who beat her mom and terrorized her, was getting a promotion and becoming the head of the English teacher. So she went to the school at midnight and burnt down the English department. I say this with the most love. She needs therapy so very deeply, but basically the school knew that she had reasons to hate him, and like Basically, it alludes to that the school knew what happened with her mom and that he abused her and was terrorizing Shay, but they didn't fire him, so they basically told her that they would strip valedictorian from her and she couldn't come to any school functions, but they wouldn't arrest her for her, basically silence for silence. The fuck? Shay's husband hired a private detective to find her, which, I mean, like, I don't blame him because she's straight up cheating on him, but okay. I didn't think he cared that much, but he's also crazy. And not that I think she should cheat on him, but I think she should divorce him. Okay, so she tells him she no longer wants to be married to him, just simply over the phone. All right. Oh no, Dorsey overheard Nicole saying she was going to leave him, and I'm scared. And he caught Shay. They're doing this thing where they, like, have the girls be forest nymphs, and they have to just run and then try not to get caught. I hate this. I think he just killed Nicole. I'm scared. Shay has attacked Dorsey / Adam Dorsey, and I wish that she would have got the chance to kill him, but I don't think she's going to. Shay just got punched in the head, so that seems like kind of bad vibes. She is now captive in a van, and it appears they're taking her to Rachel. It's not Rachel, it's Laurel? What? They said so many times in the beginning how, like, they looked alike, and I'm so stupid. I'm so dumb. How did I not see that coming? What? Okay, Laurel's alive. Alive and well, I guess. And she's like, do you remember freshman year you used to sleep on my floor? And, well, first she said, hold on. Don brainwashed us. He ruined our lives and Clem died. We escaped. And then Laurel says, we never escaped. And then, she's basically like, do you remember on freshman year you used to sleep on my floor sometimes? Of course, the nights you didn't want to be alone. I was such a child back then. Okay, I'll tell you the whole story. What? So Laurel is telling her story, and I guess she never wanted to leave Don, and she kept wanting to go back, so okay. So Laurel was looking for Don this whole time, and she ran into Rachel, told her everything. Rachel brought her back to Don, and now they're, like, basically a couple. Ew! Okay, so basically Rachel was killing the girls who stepped out of line without discussing it with Laurel and Don. And I'm pretty sure they killed her. I haven't gotten there yet. But basically, she said that she would just kill them and leave Don and Laurel to clean up the mess. And then Shay says, well, how do you deal with it? And she says, we put them in the garden. We had no other choice. Their bodies fertilize the flowers. It's beautiful, Shay. I made it for Clem with all her favorites. She'd love it here. Horror gripped me. It was true then. Girls who went to the hilltop never came back. It wasn't a Mecca. It was a graveyard. Turns out Rachel and Don, not related. I think Laurel might try to kill Shay. She's saying that Shay's the one Don liked the best, and now she's the only obstacle in the way. Just kidding. She came at her with a knife, but she caught her ropes and told her to run and said, leave now or you'll never leave. Okay, so turns out the governor, bad guy, he's one of these motherfuckers too. So the new plan is that Laurel's gonna sneak into the next party, Shay's gonna sneak in, try to get Laurel to come with her, and while they're in the party, Jamie is gonna have an emergency story published with their, like, chats, their interviews, and have this whole thing blown up so that hopefully people will start calling the FBI. I'm stressed about her going to this party. Y'all, Shay tried to confront Don at this party, but, like, they were in a corridor alone, and now he's got her, and I'm scared. In the garden? What? I hope that as he goes to try to freaking hurt Shay, that Laurel gets him good. Laurel did show up, but whenever Laurel showed up, Don turned, and Shay just grabbed an axe. Oh, man. What? Chapter 39, Don told Laurel to unalive herself, and she just did. So, dead again. What the fuck? I don't even want to talk about what just happened. Well, she attacked him. Okay. Shay did, obviously. Laurel, she's done dead. This quote got me. Our eyes locked. And that's when I saw it for the first time after all these years. Fear, baby. The FBI are there, baby, arresting people. Husband just got in the shower. I absolutely love this quote. It says, Jamie's listeners were saving us. All those strangers disrupting their safe, peaceful bubbles of their lives at our call for help. So good. She just bopped Dawn in front of the FBI. So Shay obviously got arrested, and I'm reading the epilogue right now, and basically, Jamie is trying to help Shay with her case because she's facing 20 years for murder. But it says, Shay herself once told me the story is everything. She knew from the beginning that it was her best defense. The thing that could stitch her together, show us her humanity. In the weeks I spent interviewing her, I'll confess, I never realized she was testifying. She was always a step ahead. I don't know if you can tell, but I literally have chills. Alright guys, we are here to talk about the end clip, the end of this book. We read it. We read The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead, and you guys, this book has changed me as a person. It makes you think about so many things. Like, in the end of this book, our main girl, Shay, ends up killing Don in front of the FBI when he was going to be going to jail because she just couldn't stomach the thought of him possibly getting away with it. So she's like, if he's dead, he's not going to get away with it. So she just straight up bops him, and it, like, makes you question, like, obviously, like, killing is not the answer, and you should not do that, obviously, but, like, you really don't know what you would do in her situation, given all the trauma that he has caused her. And so it just, like, really made me think, and 5 stars. We've started the year with 2 5-star books. Like, I've read 2 books this year, both 5 stars. And the book I'm about to start is probably going to be 4 stars. So we're just starting 2025 off with bang after bang after bang. I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. And thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.